and turn that out. So, and there are other artists as well, Heather Victoria and GQ and, Harlow, and it's a number of the family is there, headed by we call them the General Ninth Wonder. So, salute to all of the Jamla family. And, we support you. Thor supports you here at the Voice of the People, right?
We definitely support you, the Voice of the People. We know that Ninth is a major factor here in the area and definitely makes a lot of things jump here in the community. He's got everything from being a professor to being involved in the producing realm to being a performer. So Ninth is just a versatile performer and definitely one that I've had a conversation with on a couple of times. So we're hoping that we'll get him on the show as well in the very near future and be able to have a conversation with him and see what he's got to be talking about in terms of what's going on in his world, because Ninth has always got something amazing going on. It doesn't matter whether it's this year or whether it's in the years past. He's always got truly amazing things happening that have got folks jumping and always interested in what he's got going on.
In fact, if you're listening right now, make sure, and Rhapsody's album drops on Friday, and on Saturday, September 23rd, Black Jedi Zulu presents a sneaker affair hosted by Ninth Wonder, Saturday at 8 p.m. at the Google Fiber Triangle, 518 West Jones Street, Raleigh, North Carolina. Tickets are still available at eventbrite.com. It's a charity ball, so they're raising money for the Cranston Hargrove Memorial Art Scholarship. Attire, tuxedos, suits, gowns, and your sneakers. So, that's what makes it very unique that, you get to dress up and then put your nice sneakers on at the bottom. So there's the sneaker ball. Support Black Jedi Zulu. They're doing great things down there in the community. So, your support is definitely appreciated, and we salute you.
Oh, yeah, that support is definitely appreciated and needed, so we're glad to see that folks are recognizing the great things that are going on that Ninth is doing and the whole Jamla crew, so that is definitely a great thing that is going on here in our community, and there's, just like we said before, great things that are happening in terms of the world of entertainment throughout the country and the world, so we're trying to stay on top of it. We want you to tell us about what you've got going on and things of that nature. So we are definitely looking forward to hearing all of these great stories from around the world because, we are a worldwide podcast now, being on iHeart and TuneIn and various other avenues as well. And, of course, I just saw earlier today that we have some very good company in terms of iHeart, because iHeart just announced today that they are teaming up with the world of NPR. So NPR podcasts are now on iHeart along with us. So we have got the one of our podcast mates are the NPR podcast now. So we have now iHeart has teamed up with NPR.
Hey, the hands are linking and the arms are joining together, So that's a great thing, man. And also, I'll post the link for our replays where we're syndicated now, So
that's right.
It just continues to move along in a positive direction, and what can I say, man? It's something that I never thought that, we didn't think 3 years ago that it was going to get to this point, but we're happy that we're here.
We're here, and of course we have to give a shout out to Ty, and I did hear that she sent me some information, which I'm still doing some research on that we're going to talk about. But apparently she saw a post from I believe it was somebody named Jenkins who was talking about the poisoning of the waters in our community. So we're going to do a little bit of research and probably bring that to the forefront of the show as well, because she sent me a link with some YouTube sites that I haven't had a chance to really examine, but I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And, ever since Flint, people have been very cautious about how things are being done in the various communities. And I know for a fact that the poisoning of waters from corporate folks can be a very real thing, because I grew up in a little small town called Warrenton, and many of you may not remember, but there was a chemical dump back in the late 70s, early 80s of a dangerous, I believe it was a fertilizer-type poison, but Warren County as well as parts of Virginia were where some of that dumping was going on, and there are still people, even to this day, that have been dealing with effects from that. So, anytime they talk about whether it's back in the 70s and 80s or even back like a year or two ago with Flint, there are always these things happening in the corporate world where you have to be cautious about what's being dumped into the water. And there are some people that might even be thinking that some of these things are being done intentionally because, a lot of the counties that were dumped in the Virginia and North Carolina area were definitely in poor African-American communities. And, Flint is a poor African-American area as well in terms of a large portion of their population. So we sometimes have to ask, why are they dumping in certain communities, just like folks had to ask back in the day why certain highways were going through certain communities as well. So, we have to study our history and understand why these things are happening. Is it an accident? Oftentimes it is not. Oftentimes it is planned not to our benefit, but to our detriment.
Oh, yeah, because if they figure if no one's paying attention, they can get that off, and it possibly could be, something else. So.
Yeah, it's just amazing what corporations will do and try to do and things of that nature. I remember one of my favorite books growing up was a book called Equitage, and Equitage was about a guy named the Fox, and what the Fox did was he actually turned the tables on some of the polluters because he was Equitage was actually stood for ecology sabotage. So he would go into like the big bosses places, like the corporations that might be dumping pollution in a big river, and he would go get some of that muck and that pollution, sneak into their office, and basically dump it right there on their desk. So, when they came back to work that morning, they might find themselves a very smelly mess. So, he was known for doing that. I want to say that was back in the, might have been like the 70s or maybe even the 60s, but you can actually find the book Equitage on Amazon and other places. But he was definitely one of the radical leaders of that era and everything. So it was very interesting watching that go on and seeing what he was all about and reading some of his exploits. And I think there was exploits of others as well that might have been supporters of his. But the book basically focused a lot on what he did, but it also talked about some of the other people that were supporters of his and, some of the tactics they did, some of the tactics are still going. There's still people that are chaining themselves to trees if they feel like a certain kind of tree is being endangered or certain kind of wildlife is being endangered, that every once in a while you'll hear news or things of that nature. So there are definitely some environmental activists out there even to this day. So he was definitely one of the pioneers in that field, and I'm sure that there are some other folks that knew of his legacy as well. So like I said, if you're not familiar with the book, I would definitely check it out. It's called Equitage, and I know that you can find it on Amazon and some of the other book sites as well.
Oh, okay.
Sounds interesting. That's one of the things we have to do. We have to learn our history and understand our history so that people can understand what's going on and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah. Got to be able to understand it, because if we don't, we're doomed to repeat it.
And we definitely do not want to repeat it at all. That's one of the dangers of things happening, is that sometimes folks do not understand what's going on, and then they're sitting there going like, wait a minute, we just did that before, and now we're doing it again.
Mm-hmm. When are we going to learn?
Yes, we have to learn from our past mistakes and things of that nature. Otherwise, as you said, we're just doomed to repeat them, and that's not the way that society should be going. We need to learn how to learn from our mistakes and make a positive direction in a positive manner, not going back and repeating old mistakes over and over again. I believe that old saying about if you keep repeating the same thing over and over, that's like one of the definitions of crazy.
Oh, yeah, it sure is. It sure is a definition of crazy. And, I don't think too many people would want to be labeled as such,
With that label, that's not something that they want to have on their resume, as being labeled as that kind of word. I mean, sometimes people may play crazy in order to get things accomplished, and I have seen people do that in the past, but in terms of that being something that you want to be permanently labeled, I think most people will intentionally try to avoid that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Nobody wants to be the nutcase, man.
Nobody wants to be the nutcase at all?
No, not at all. I don't think nobody aims to be put in that category, you know?
Nah, they do not hope to be in that category at all, because all that does is create people as a general rule try not to be pigeonholed into anything, because, once you get pigeonholed, then you're in all kinds of trouble. So folks try not to be pigeonholed into little boxes and things of that nature. I mean, by nature and by society, we often are pigeonholed because, we're labeled one thing or another. You're labeled by your race, you're labeled by your gender, you're labeled by your orientation, you're labeled by your income, you're labeled by your job, you're labeled by your education level, you're labeled by so many things. But as a general rule, we all try to step outside of those boxes and not just be whatever those little boxes that they have us check are. We try to be the totality of what humanity is about, but not just be labeled into the various boxes that the world and society tries to put us all into. And, they try to do it by everything from gender to orientation to religious affiliation or non-affiliation, as the case may be, to educational levels, to everything else that you see when you go on the census bureaus or any of the other things that study people by their nature. They always try to have you check this box or that box, and sometimes we all need to be a little bit beyond that. We need to understand what we are in terms of our humanity. We also need to try to find ways to understand people that are in other parts of the equation. So, like if you're heterosexual, you don't have to have friends of those opposite orientations in your circle, but it probably wouldn't hurt to have some friends in those kind of circles in your friend circle, as well as people from other races and other religions and other ethnicities and various other things, because in order to be a truly developed person, you need to have an understanding of the world around us, and that means understanding the various parts of our humanity.
Oh, yeah. Well, like my mother used to say, you never know who you're going to need, and you never know when you're going to need them. So, you need to go ahead and treat everyone with the basic respect, because
right.
If not, that will come back to you as well. So, you don't want to be disrespectful and then hoping
right.
that someone will be able to support you when you need it, but you haven't supported anyone else. So it comes down, and if we all learn that basic respect, it doesn't matter what a person chooses, what they don't choose, what they like, what they don't like. We ought to be able to respect the decision that they make, and life goes on. At some point, folks will realize that you can't keep telling others what to do and then think you're going to do what you want to do yourself, So it becomes problematic when individuals just get stuck in that singular track of thinking.
Yeah, and that's often what happens. Too often we got people that get stuck in a singular trap of thinking, or that, too often we get people that believe in the their way or the highway kind of approach. That is one of my complaints, not with all, but that's one of my complaints with certain religious leaders and everything, is, I don't think it. I know that there are people that believe in ghosts and people that believe in those kind of things, but as far as I know, I've yet to meet one face to face. I've heard bumps in the night and other things that probably could have been ghosts and things of that nature, but I've yet to see one that's actually come up there and said, "Hey, Mark, I'm so and so. Remember me?" And so probably would do all kinds of things and scream and yell and remind and wonder if I'm actually seeing things, but that's not happened that I've had that direct encounter as of yet. Not saying that it won't happen in my lifetime. One never knows what might happen in the world and all that kind of stuff. But it's not happened. Like I said, I've heard